that. The wrong person lead that group.
File.
Why did you change your picture?
Uh,
I personally have not done anything with anything related to anything that's going on with Jinx. Honestly, I'm gonna say this right now.
Well,
So
I want to bring
there's
I
no
want to
bias.
I want to bring that up later. First things first, just so it's out there and so you guys understand like our point of view on this. I already messaged mod mail about it.
Mm-hmm.
With that whole situation where it seemed like it was usually Kraken getting the butt end of everything, whereas
I was against it honestly.
why is Nova in
Like
here,
we need to
dude?
talk to Kraken as a
Nova?
whole, but I think we shouldn't be dealing with it that way.
well, I mean, like I don't know. It seemed ridiculous that we were doing an in-house scrim that I had brought in another captain uh to be a ringer for us, and within like 5 minutes he's being toxic and just really attacking the skill of Wicca mode players instead of actually helping them improve.
Okay, so
And when I went to go step in, Kraken acted poorly and started being toxic in chat as well.
I'm gonna talk about this for a second because I was on the other team while they were doing this. So basically, what happened? I was sitting there with back in the lobby, and we were trying to come up with other strats.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we called something, I think it was like we were gonna go Ana with a Mei or something and goats, and then he immediately called out, "It's like, why would we run an Ana or Mei? No, don't do that." And okay, that's the first thing. Whatever, he just wants to play Metacoms. That's fine. Then as the game goes on, then we have other people. Is playing a couple times, and he starts legitimately trash talking and not giving any extra information. Like every run, he's trying to come up with strats, even though he's a ringer. Like
Yeah,
that was the big issue. When we said it's like you can't do that, he then started like amping up the trash talking even further.
it didn't help that Kraken was adding their own, but I mean, outside of the situation with Nick Knack, because that's whatever. It's an in-house
Yeah.
scrim. We dealt with it on our own. I just removed him after the first map, and uh, and I believe neither side really got anything from Nevermore because of the toxicity. What was a little unbelievable was it was an in-house scrim where some of my players had spoken their opinion because, like I said, we usually get the butt end of this stuff.
Yep.
Um, which don't get me wrong, when we get the butt end of this stuff, we act poorly, very poorly, like every time. I mean, even the first situation with Nakama and the color situation that got Patchy banned initially,
Mm-hmm.
that that's an obvious case of acting super poorly. It's just the situation's happening in the first place. Um, but it just seemed ridiculous that we were receiving any kind of punishment for speaking our mind in a private scrim. And also kind of why I wanted to talk here, because like I mentioned before, I can't control what Patchy says.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, as long
A
as he
lot of
stops his shit, that's all I really care. Because at this point, it is getting to it's going to end up in a legal matter. Because he is at this point spreading slander and harassment,
Like you
which
can't call that like you can't say that that's like legal, like legally bad because it's not slander or like you can't legally do anything unless it actually like detriments like how much money you're making, which obviously isn't really um I don't know. You can't measure that in a Discord server. Like he's legitimately saying that something is just not good, which is like public opinion. That's fine. You can't
it's
punish
basically a
that.
Yelp review. I mean, he put it in a very public place, but it's like a Yelp review. But I mean, or otherwise, I understand why people would be upset about it. I mean, obviously going into public, he's talking crap about Nevermore. He's talking crap about what happened on Infinity and about you personally. So like, I get why people are upset with it. Also, why I again in the first place still agree with his ban. Don't really want him interacting with stuff to do with Nevermore myself, nor really with Subtle Calamity because I know he's going to cause issues. But that being said, as well, I still can't control what he says. I can't make him stop. I can't stop it in the first place because I don't know when it happens until after it happens. It's his own personal undoings to do this.
See, what he did on Reddit is in fact like pushing the boundaries of whether or not it's legal, because he is trying to harm the reputation of Lethal
Me and yeah.
and of pretty much the whole esports Nevermore.
I
And
think
so
he got
at
banned from the subreddit too, by the way.
He
'cause when I
didn't.
reported that comment. His comments have gotten removed.
Yeah, but that's
yeah, and
not
because
like banned from the thing anyway. But like that doesn't make any sense though. Like you can't take legal repercussions from saying something is bad. That's an opinion. You can't say that that's slander. Like slander is if it like severely harms your reputation to the point where you can't get a job or something. That's slander. That's not what that is whatsoever.
no, he's trying to attack Nevermore and prefer like in specific Lethal.
He's trying
So
to do it in a way that will hurt me in the future, which it will if he continues
Yeah.
this way, and it's false.
yeah,
He
and
There's no
that
campaign here.
point-
It's an opinion.
he
that's the thing. Like he could literally lie about stuff, and no matter what, his words are out there, and at that point, it is in fact defamation.
let
Can I
me
just
let me
say
ask this
defamation?
before
Did
we
you
go
just
on
say
with that.
defamation?
Do you believe that any of what he said, other than obviously the part about Jinx being boosted? Because
Hello?
I'm not gonna lie,
Defamation? Alright.
100% believe he is boosted
I
myself.
think Jinx exploited a loophole in the freaking MMR system and took advantage of it and got placed higher than he should have. I think he should have been placed somewhere in Diamond.
Hey, okay, listen,
Uh,
like I'll
I
tell you
think
what.
we all can.
Like I don't First of all, there's a couple reasons why like this is such a big thing to me is because morally it's wrong. It's cheating the system and like making sure that you are placed higher than people that are like actually better than you. That's morally wrong. It's against the TOS. You can't get boosted. Whether or not it's account sharing or you played with friends, it's still against TOS. You can't like it's in general, like everything about it is just wrong. I don't know, like
it's
What he
It's
did
insulting.
is I agree it's insulting. He just played in pugs and scrims. He never played quick play, so all of his stuff was based off what he did in comp.
well, it's not that he has the rank that's it's insulting. It's that he goes around and flaunts it and talks
Yeah.
about how he's got these Masters games and
he also
Oh, no, I've already got on to for that. Don't worry about that one.
well, it's that, but it's
And,
like
like-
another thing too is that since like if you want to really dig deep here with the whole legal stuff, since you're partnered with Blizzard, technically you're breaking their TOS by having a player and not infracting and not punishing the fact that they're blatantly being boosted. So that can get you in a lot of trouble and possibly get you removed with your partnership. Like if you want to really dig deep here.
Okay, let me ask you this. Being boosted yourself, if you do it via scrims and pugs and all, like is what he did, he's gonna fall down to where he belongs if he doesn't belong there. Let's put it that way. He will.
he's begun. He privated it since we mentioned something, but we were watching his stats because we assumed he had, but we didn't want to be like 100% saying that it's true without seeing his stats. And even notice out of his placements, he has terrible stats out of there. He privated his profile since, but I think I've seen him in 2 to 3 weeks from last I saw. Has played 6 comp games on that account. before privated like 3 days ago and
Mm-hmm.
lost all of them. Lost nearly 150 SR, 125, 150.
He lost
Uh,
200.
his stats on his characters were far below average, and it didn't reflect at all.
Like, it wouldn't be an issue if he didn't berate other people for being other ranks. Like, that's the big
Yeah,
issue. It's not that
like
he's completely boosted. It's the fact that he then goes ahead, trash talks, berates other people. Like,
he's literally in the Reddit post got on Patchy and was like, "You're only diamond. You're just mad." This is a generalization, and I'm not quoting it word
Mhm.
for word, so it's wrong. But from the gist of what I heard, basically telling Patchy that he's diamond and that he's just mad because he can't get to masters himself and is attacking someone who has.
Yeah. I was going to address that with him. Looks like the entire thread got deleted. I was going to screenshot it, but it looks like it got deleted.
oh, I have it hyperlinked. Don't worry.
Can you give me a screenshot of that, please? Where Jinx said that?
Oh, I can
Because
post it.
Just DM me it. You shouldn't be blocked. I think on your team that's blocked right now is Patchy. Okay, thank you. I'm going to screenshot that in case they delete it. Thank you.
But he I don't know. It's insulting that he hit the rank and that he's berating people. If he had hit the rank, it would have been whatever. We would have checked his stats every once in a while because obviously, like we said, we didn't believe that he was the rank that he was or that he placed in the slightest.
Yeah, Nova and I are trying to avoid going to a possible future scrim with you guys because I told them, well, as long as you guys try to work this out, we will attempt to scrim you in 3 weeks with what not what's correct with Wicca mode. As long as they get a roster list ahead of time.
I
So, yeah.
do I
That's
do
all.
want to ask.
That's my only real thing. I want to know who's playing,
Like
and I don't care if Levin is playing.
the roster hasn't changed. We got one new player and it's Chroma. He's another damage player, but otherwise the roster hasn't changed at
Mhm.
all.
We got two. We also got Liberic.
Yeah, the only ones I really care if I don't play, I don't want us playing with is because they've proven repeat hostility and
Don't.
toxicity towards our teams.
The only two
Someone Gazelle.
Yeah, no,
That's
they're
what I asked.
the
none of them are playing for Wicco.
I'll be
the
right back. I smell smoke, so I'll be right back.
Oh jeez.
The most I do
Um,
for the team, and like the only one that plays on both teams, the most I do is sub for them whenever they need one. But otherwise, I
Yeah,
don't play.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
I've even told pretty much everyone about this. The only two allowed to participate in a scrim with subtle calamity from Kraken is Skim because he actually three. Sorry, Skim because he's never caused anything. Um, Frixos for the same reason, and Levin because he's gotten his good boy points and doesn't really cause anything.
Well,
Um, but yeah, like I wouldn't intentionally go into a scrim with players that I knew would cause something. The last time I believe Kraken and Infinity scrimmed, I didn't even expect it to go the way that it had afterwards. Um,
I think like the big catalyst there, why people got really toxic, is like a lot of people saw Jinx's account. And I think a lot of people were talking
that
team
wasn't
chat.
Kraken.
Wasn't Kraken? No, that was Wicco. Wait.
Yeah.
Trying to think. What was the Kraken one?
Was it when Warrior and Patchy got their warnings as well as we, or well, I guess they got their warnings retracted, but we also got a screenshot or a clip of something Jinx said.
well, yeah, those got removed. We removed yours too. I was going to warn Jinx. That was what I want to do. I
Yeah.
felt that for a learning environment, all those comments were not appropriate.
No, I agree.
I'm like, oh, I
I-
can see Jinx do that. Yeah, give him a fucking warning too.
My like my only case in that, and the only trouble I raised with it was I understood
with the
my
voice of an
player's
angel.
punishment for it. It was up to the Nevermore mods to decide how it was going to be handled. I just didn't want to see prejudice against my team because we've had issues in the past.
Oh yeah.
Which is why, as soon as I found the clip on Jinx, I wanted to be sure that he was receiving the same punishment.
I'm not inviting Nova because she doesn't believe we're talking about this.
I'll
Why
go.
does Nova need to be here?
Listens. If she joins. I'm gonna type this in the chat too because I did say this earlier. If one of the problem players shows up, we are leaving the scrim.
That's fair. Although, like I said, they have no way into the lobby. Wicco mode knows that they can't participate.
Yep.
I will not be inviting them myself, nor will Lovin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with your team, and I actually was against what they did. I said we need to do a voice cracking on a team level, but I think it needs to be a talk with their team and the mods as a whole about what's going on.
Well, I mean, the thing is,
Left already.
when I talked to Unholy about it, he did bring up a point in which I can agree with it. I think I think the reasoning is sound. I think the cause isn't.
I agree with the
Like-
reasoning. I just
We weren't having really any intentions to participate in Nevermore Season 2 or any tournaments, so it made sense. In fact, there was quite a while that I was going to remove the roster, but people were people were saying that they still wanted to participate. So like I thought it was justifiable. It was just the reasoning coming from someone speaking their opinion in a private scrim seemed absurd.
yeah.
I'm back.
Welcome back. Zero Day, you can talk about this. I'm going to go in a second. If anything important needs to be noted to me, just DM it and I'll continue because I don't think go in like seconds. I'm a little late already.
I think we're just about done as well. The one thing I was gonna ask you sooner, because you mentioned it in chat and then you mentioned it again on the call. By what do you mean handle Patchy?
I don't care if you kick him off your team or not. That's not my concern. I just don't want him spreading stuff either in your Discord, publicly, or whatever. I just want whenever this gets reported to you, he's immediately told to stop, which I don't think happened this time because he was still doing it to the mods, deleted all his thread. I suspect he's going to continue on that, and he's probably going to get banned from that subreddit.
I just think like even if he's just say talks bad against Nevermore, they're gonna be his actions are gonna look bad on you guys as well. So that's just like coming from someone who hasn't even met Patchy, hasn't even dealt with him. I just got pulled into this today. I'm thinking like just his actions alone, just if I was not in Nevermore, not with Lethal's group, and I saw this, I would think both teams are bad, and that's just bad. Because if Patchy's getting mad at someone or a team, and you look at that and you look at the team he's on, you could instantly just start to assume negative on both sides.
We're full aware of
Yeah.
what Patchy's actions or how they look, but there's nothing I can do to what he says, and I'm gonna state this now and everything. But outside of Nevermore and specifically you, Lethal, he does not cause issues. In fact,
Yeah.
he tries more than not to try and help me settle them in a calm manner. He's got a negative outlook on the past with Nevermore. He feels like he was treated unfairly. He feels that his friends were treated unfairly. He's felt attacked. All of that. which is why, like, while I still don't agree with his actions, and again, why I agree with his ban and with him not participating in anything to do with Nevermore or Subtle Calamity, is also a reason why that, and the fact that he doesn't cause issues outside of this, why I would not even think about kicking him off the roster. Like I said, the worst he's done has been done. He's gotten his punishment in Nevermore. He can't participate. He'll never participate. He obviously goes and says these things, but it's only a matter of time before he's going to get banned from that subreddit, or I can convince him to stop.
I think you should try
But-
to convince them because he's making you guys look bad too at this point. And that's my
Eh,
personal opinion,
you're-
but
Most of the people in the voice channel are gonna question it, but personally, I don't think anyone on the team cares how he makes us look. We do want to improve as a team. That is our goal, and we don't go out daily looking for fights and to be toxic. His deal with Nevermore is his deal with Nevermore. He can handle it in whatever way. If it does end up blowing back on the team, then I'll handle it myself. But like I said, all I can do is talk to him. I don't control him. I can't sit there and say, "Hey, you're banned from subreddit," or sorry, you're banned from Reddit. Can't make any more posts. You can't say what you think on Nevermore.
The thing is that for our team, like we have a super heavy mindset, just focusing on one thing. We're not a public figure in any way. We're not a contenders team. We're not a league. We're not in anywhere besides just within our own, well, open div. That doesn't matter too much.
yeah.
So it's like we're not focusing on starting any drama. We're focusing on improving ourselves. So it's like anything that anyone in our team voices is purely their own opinion. Nobody on the team has a group opinion. Like we don't really talk about any sort of drama or anything.
Yeah, I figured. I need to go, so I'm gonna have to drop. Zero Day, just catch me up afterwards.
Yeah.
Sounds good. If you guys have anything for me, let me know.
Yep.
I'm muted,
honest-
so I apologize. I don't know what the history was or anything, so
I can give a brief, but it's only if you want it. I understand if not.
no, it's fine. Like I he just told me his point of view. I don't know the other team's point of view.
Okay.
I've been catching up on what you guys have been saying.
I was telling
Well,
everyone about us, dude. Oh my gosh.
To start with, I'm sure he's mentioned it at some point, but we were initially Infinity or Subtle Calamity's sister team. We
Yeah, I already caught up on that part. Like he
Yeah.
said, he already explained that sister team.
and he let you know that some of our players used to be on Subtle Calamity,
Yeah.
myself included, as well as
Yeah.
Levin.
Yeah, he already said that stuff. It's just
Okay.
I honestly don't know. Like
It to put it in a generalization, it got to be just a bunch of minor things mixed with not so minor things that kind of led us down this way. For one, an issue we had, but nothing we really wanted to speak out against, was Lethal was treating the team as if it was a business and not a team. That he was treating our Discord server that we had it as a community. That, like, while there were rules and understandable rules, that there were just some crazy expectations from players that just didn't make sense. There was a case with a friend of Patchy's, actually, which was brought up in the Reddit post, which I'll give our side on that, I guess, as well. Um, where we Patchy's friend was our hit scan specialist, I believe. Widow specialist in particular for the team, which is what she signed up for. We had lost two of our players due to issues with their families, and she had asked to be able to play more than just Widow every scrim. She wanted to play a little bit of Hanzo, which is another hero she plays consistently. Um, and there, I never understood it because I honestly come home one day and found out that it was happening and gave my input on it afterwards. But there was apparently an issue with her doing that. Lethal had believed that she shouldn't be able to play any other role outside of her one Widow role, which could be fair if you're talking about like a tank playing support, but talking about a DPS playing another DPS hero that they can play, just it seemed ridiculous. I know how he worded it in the post. And to clarify, I was one of the three in the part of the decision, as well as Levin, and the entire like decision for that. I know he said we all agreed, but that is completely untrue. The entire time I had not agreed with it. I thought she should have the freedom to play more. That it wasn't an issue. I think she handled it poorly. Like she had become toxic and attacking Nova, who I'm sure you know at this point.
Yeah.
Yes. So she had been attacking Nova because it was essentially her hero pool that she was barging in on, but seeing as they both had expensive hero pools, I honestly thought we could have found a way to fit them into play the heroes they wanted to. Uh, so it for whatever reason it went super south. I think Lethal had egged her on, didn't really help the case, and pushed her not intentionally, but pushed her to be toxic towards it and bring up her own thoughts on Nova and everything,
I mean,
and
the,
to the point that she had been removed from the team, which I again thought was uh unneeded and just unnecessary.
like the whole
What were
thing
you saying?
is that it's like that whole thing kind of made the whole thing with Patchy Lethal a bit more personal. I think like the her that Ben was just talking about was a good friend of Patchy's, and since that kind of happened, Patchy got a lot more kind of I don't know the exact word. He's got a bit like really upset about that. So when it came time for him to like leave the team, he kind of started getting a lot more toxic about it.
Yeah. Past the situation with that, there that was just one of the not so little cases. Um, we we eventually got to the point when we were all on the team that Lethal had decided he wanted to start a sister team, and then asked me to captain it. Um, in which I was all down for. I was going to go make the team, all of it. No issues. I clearly, like, you see the team still together here. Like, yeah, I wanted to do it. The thing is once it happened, he told me that he'd give me the freedom to do all this, and while he did, it seemed like he suddenly became stricter about who played on the main roster, as well as prejudiced and just constantly speaking negatively about the sister team, treating them as if they were the B team, the worst team, um, that they just couldn't amount to Infinity at the time that that it was essentially the junk team, that they would, that he was willing to put anyone who he didn't like on Infinity onto the sister team, which I personally did not agree with in any bit. I don't think my players agreed with, because or the people in question to have been moved to the team. It just, it seemed unfair that even though we were the sister team, that we were getting treated as if we were worse. There was that. Speaking of Levin here, actually, he was one of the members in question for that. Not due to him having a lack of skill. He is probably the most skilled player I've had on my teams
Aw,
Yeah.
or played with.
cute.
But at the time in question, he was our coach as well as a player, because he was the only player above
Dude,
Diamond
that's so cute.
that we had even known. And there came a situation where we were playing, and we had already marked out a shot caller as well as lethal to pick up the slack. But in this case, Levin had offered a comp, all fair and good. We ran out the doors, played the comp once, and it didn't work. And then all of a sudden became a shit show of lethal and the shot caller just getting on Levin for the comp in the first place, as well as getting on him for trying to defend the comp, saying how we can make it work, saying how we can improve on it, and just giving him all the scrap on saying anything other than what himself or the shot caller at the time were saying.
Yeah.
Which, now that I've had a time to have him on my team and to captain him, like, it just, it doesn't make sense. I understand not wanting to overcall your shot caller, but to go out and attack a player because they're trying to give a solution and trying to improve you by teaching you how to use the solution
Like the whole
correctly is weird.
the whole idea is that like right before that I was the coach for the team. So it's like at the time I think I was the only, I want to say only Masters player on the team, but they moved me from coach into player because they needed another DPS. So what happened is that it's like at some point the shot caller made a bad call and I said no, we need to do this instead because that's gonna help us, and then they said that it just wasn't a good call and that we shouldn't be calling over. So that
Yeah.
was kind of like, since I was like previously coach, that kind of, you know, put up question marks.
It didn't make sense because it was someone who was previously our coach explaining how to run a comp correctly and giving us a strategy to run and getting told off for doing so. And it even got to a point that after the scrim, Lethal had come to me telling me that he was going to give Levin the option of either only coaching or only playing. And then a few days later telling me that he was going to remove him from being a player in general, that he wasn't going to give the option. In which was the time that I gave a third option to just have him join the sister team, as we had needed a DPS at the time, as well as I had viewed it differently and didn't really think that he should have been given shit for speaking his opinion or trying to coach even though he was playing at the time. So yeah, it was something that I agreed with for him moving over, but something I didn't agree with Lethal basically kicking him over and not giving him an option to even like try to continue to play with the main roster, or really just even talk to him about it and ask him to not do it again?
See, from my experience with Nevermore and Lethal in particular, I don't know how it was like personally before, but from what I've experienced, like the only thing that's been happening has been Nevermore and particularly Lethal in general, like really caring about his team and really caring about Nevermore and trying to improve upon like everything. So like we'll just pull in like recently they he's trying to find people that won't be toxic, people that won't be that actually want to care and help the team out. And he even got a coach to like help improve everyone's skill.
What coach?
Jinx, like he made me a mentor. He didn't make Jinx a mentor. Like he obviously knows Jinx, even though Jinx is a GM or master GM, whatever he is.
Jinx GM, oh my god.
He obviously knows like Jinx isn't that good. What like how he says he is, but
Oh, is this the coach?
he sees potential in me.
Oh,
He
this is the
made me
coach.
like a mentor for the supports. So I'm just saying, like, he obviously knows what you guys are saying about Jinx. He obviously knows, like, his particular, like, the issue with Jinx itself, with Patchy, and Jinx being quote unquote boosted. I don't see it. I don't know because I personally have not gone against Masters and GMs. But when it comes to them in particular, I I already know that he is trying to work with Jinx and trying to work with like everyone's skill improving, including Jinx himself.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that. He was doing that when me and Lemon had played for him, which is why it
Yeah.
was more insulting that the situation happened with
Yeah.
Levin, because Levin was trying to do the same. He was offering a strat, trying to teach the team how to improve on it, and got it attacked for
Who was the
trying to
fiance?
run it.
I saw that too.
Nova.
Nova.
Nova is Lethal's fiance or
Yes.
wife.
From
Fiance.
I believe still fiance.
I did
Unless
not know that.
And
from
it's a bit of a weird situation.
yeah, we don't fully know what's happening with it, and it's his own personal matter, so it's his to
Yeah.
share. From what we understand, though, is
Doesn't even know, dude.
lives in the United States. She lives in Canada. They met somewhere a long time ago, uh, and everything. And like being in a relationship, like even long distance, it makes sense that you would like play games or play video games with your significant other. An issue we had with it is it seemed like he was putting his significant other or Nova over everything else in every case. I feel like it wasn't always intentional, but it always seemed to come out that way.
Yeah.
Like for instance, that situation with that other player that we mentioned that was Patchy's friend.
Yeah.
We felt like, or I felt like the only reason he didn't agree with it was because his fiance had spoken up about it and said that she had not wanted to like swap roles, that she had been practicing the role that she had been playing, which is fair. But it was not expressed that way in the slightest, as well as uh, for someone to be captain and everything, you gotta let your team have opportunities to improve themselves. You can't just put someone on a role and then tell them to only play one character.
Yeah.
So it I don't know. It to me it just seemed like a terrible situation that because his fiance wanted to play a certain hero that another player wanted to, that he was going, it wasn't the intentional reason, but it seemed like it was the reason why he wasn't going to, or sorry, it seemed like it was a reason, not the reason, why he wasn't going to let this other player play this character at all.
Yeah. It's like I'll pull up something like that recently happened with us. there's a Pax. Something Pax, but we just call him Pax. He is a support player, and he left his last group because he was wanting to do DPS, and they wouldn't let him be DPS. Like, we reviewed him, we gave him the opportunity. Like, we see that he wants to be DPS, but he's just not good at it, and he
Imagine.
practiced everything on support. So the fact that, like, for instance, Nova not wanting to switch, it was because she practiced, she did all that stuff for her particular heroes, being the long range type hero. She recently she's getting better at like different heroes, obviously, because she's still like one of the best DPS that I've seen in the team. But when it comes to the type of role she plays, she's still more of the like long range. And Patchy's friend might have been trying to like step into that position.
They both played long range.
Like the thing is that it's
Patchy's friend had also put a lot of practice into this character as well.
the thing is that at the time, the big deal is that since Patty's friend was like a solid like 1,000 SR above, and Nova played literally everything. Like she at the time she played like 15 different DPS or something like that, like the entire DPS roster. That Patty's friend can just play whatever she's really good at, since she's probably better at it, and Nova can play the other heroes. She has a wider hero pool. That was the whole idea, but
Yeah.
Lethal didn't really let that slide because Nova didn't want to. She wanted to keep playing the heroes.
Yeah, like for instance, it's been a while since I've seen her play, but last I played with her or saw her played, I've seen her play Junkrat, Ashe, a little bit of McCree, Soldier, Reaper, just this expansive DPS hero pool, whereas this other player played Widow and Hanzo. And they came on as a Widow specialist and just wanted to play Hanzo in some of the scrims. And it was currently at the time one of the heroes that Nova was working on. Not the only hero she was working on, but one of the heroes. And because of that, I maybe you're right, or you probably are right, that she felt like the other player was stepping into her pool or into her position, but like it in the scheme of things, if you have a player with a more expensive pool, then they should probably be the one to swap if they have more to swap to. Instead of making your player that can only play a few heroes play only one of them, even if it's not working out. What else was I gonna get on for this?
Yeah.
That was like one of the bigger things that happened with that. Another thing that happened, and this was kind of like the turning point on us more separating just of how we reacted to this. But it got to a point where Anomaly had a mostly built roster, or Kraken. We had a mostly built roster. We were doing scrims more often than Calamity was, and everything was going well for us, and it had been like a bad month or so for Calamity, especially when it comes to scrims. So Patchy, actually wanted to swap teams from Calamity to Kraken to get a chance to scrim more, as well as he felt like he fit more on the team. One of the reasons being is at the time, I don't know if she's climbed any, but at the time Nova was like a mid-gold DPS player, while Patchy was a mid-diamond off-tank player, which meant that there was 1,000 SR skill gap between them. And it felt like for them, it made coaching and just everything harder. That to even it out would be to have moved Pashion somewhere where his SR was closer, and find someone closer to Nova's SR to close the gap.
Bottom
Yeah.
11%.
Because like even at the time of it happening, we didn't think that Nova couldn't improve or that she was performing super poorly for her skill. It was just
Bottom 11% is silver, dude.
uh from my experience in competitive, I've noticed that the different SR rankings have very different play styles depending on where you are. And it was just it was putting someone who usually plays with maybe like a team of 6 DPS or people who trickle in or don't play together in their comp experiences with someone who plays at least in a environment where people play normal comps, kind of use their comms, not really, because everyone knows Overwatch competitive never use their comms,
Yeah.
and just the
When you
the
reach a
environment
rank
of
that
the
isn't
people
gold
actually being able to counter each other
or
and
plat,
having
or anywhere where
being able
Jinx
to
should
outplay
be,
each other and everything, and it seemed weird to try and improve the team as a whole, having both those extreme differences in play style. Which is why I had proposed to Lethal to move Patchy onto Kraken, which at the time was I think we were saying we were 2.8, but with the people on the team at the time, we were probably close to 3K. Most of the players were like either high plat or low diamond, and it just made more sense to put Patchy on a team with people around his skill than to have the gap between them. His reaction to this was pretty poor. He at first we had thought everything was fine because as a captain, if a player comes to you, your first about wanting to swap teams, your first response should be like, okay, and then like maybe asking why, maybe asking if there's anything you can do to like make them not, if you really want to. Which is kind of what he did, but he instantly went for extremes. He was giving all these reasons on why, all these different scenarios to Patchy on things he would do to keep him on the team. Stuff involving splitting up Calamity to 2 different skill ratings, with him and Patchy being the higher skill team, and Nova, Kanaya, and I'll just say Nova and Kanaya because they're
saying
the only 2 that
Lethal's
I know
better
who are
than
on the team right
anyone on the
now.
lower skill team that he mentioned.
Uh,
Dude. Good meme.
moving them to the lower skill team. There was also a point in which he said that he would either completely remove Nova and Kanaya and just rebuild Calamity for Patchy to stay, which we thought was completely unfair to them and unjustified, as well as pushing them to Kraken, which was insulting. Not that I really think that they were terrible players, but more of, again, the point I brought up earlier, how it felt like we were treated as the trash tier team, the lesser, the one to send all the rejects from the starting team or the main team. So that kind of sparked a big issue with us and Calamity that kind of led into frustrations between the 2 teams, specifically Nova and Kanaya and Lovin and Patchy. From what I understand, I believe on our end, Lovin and Patchy had no issue with people on the team after we left. Or after they had moved over to Calamity, or not Calamity, to Kraken. But from what I understand, Kanaya and Nova were having a lot of issues with them. We were feeling hostility whenever we would play scrims against them. I was getting told by Lethal that Nova consistently was just did not want to be
This
near
isn't
or
going
around
anywhere.
patching
No, go like
for
this.
the sole reason of him wanting to swap teams. And then
Hopefully no juice pops
it
while
could
I'm
have been
gone.
handled better on both ends. I for sure could have handled it better. I think Lethal could have handled it better, but it kind of created a rift between the teams that we just got more and more frustrated with each other, didn't want to interact with each other to the point that we decided to split off to become our own organization.
Like the big thing for us is that we just didn't gain anything, so why be part of it? That thing, I guess.
Yeah, like
There wasn't any issue like or bad blood or any feud or anything. It was just more like we didn't gain.
That as well. We, like I said before, we had scrimmed a lot more often, and it made more sense to start to grow us as a individual team instead of affiliated. We weren't interacting with the people in Calamity, and we weren't scrimming them. We weren't doing any of that. It just made sense to split.
So I'm actually gonna get off for the night.
Yeah.
Amy, just let me know.
I really should have gotten off like an hour ago, so I think I'm gonna do the same.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Well, if we're all gonna be getting off, I guess I will too.
Yep.
Hope you guys have a good day.
Yeah,
Good night.
Yeah, you do.
it's